never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wanna be a doctor when I grow up. Teach all my friends and the people at home. Teach them to laugh. My mother, my father, my country. Kanina masuri tene. What if this is full of? So go what's about? Have a dream in your life, never give up. Clean your shoes, pick up your books, pick up your pen and go. Let's go to school. So we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school. So we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. It's the key to the future. Everywhere I go, let's go to school. We never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school. We never the stars shining over Africa in the morning.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is session 2 of the online course and the community of practice in teacher education reform in Sub-Saharan Africa. And we're very happy that you have joined us for session 2. So far, there are about 50 people here, but we do expect quite a few more. But if you are here already, that means that tells us that you're committed to coming back and to learning with us. And we are all learning from each other in this space. It's a community of practice. It's a community of practitioners and experts. You are all experts at something. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is a learning space for all of us. We all have something to share. We all have something to learn because we realize that knowledge is a co-creation with others. Nobody has all the ideas. Nobody has all the expertise. That especially applies when we're talking about teaching. An excellent teacher is one who considers themselves a learner throughout life, someone who's always learning about her or his students and their situations, learning about his or her practice. So knowledge is always ongoing co-creation with others. In this space, we hope that you can reflect, connect, and share. So reflect on what you're learning, reflect on where you have come so far in your career and why you've joined this space. Reflect on what you're learning along the way and how you might apply that to your departments and your work. And then connect with each other, connect with us, connect what you know with what you don't know. And also share your knowledge, share experiences from your countries, share experiences from your schools and from your ministries and your departments. So share and share your perspectives, share your challenges. If something is difficult to understand, if something is going by too fast, we hope that you can honestly share your experiences in this space. And as always, you can ask questions and you can post comments in the chat box within the Zoom call. And also we have it's not showing up on this slide, Mina, but we have a parking lot where you can add your questions. I'll put the link into the chat box. It's a document where you can always post questions and realizations and ideas that you have about this class. And then finally, keep yourself on mute when you're not talking, just because it helps to have one person at a time talking, not because we don't want you to talk in this space. You can raise your hand to ask a question as we go through the learning today. And when you do speak, we ask that you try to keep your comments and your questions to just 1 minute or less, maybe even less than that. That will allow more people to have a chance to speak. We realize that there's a lot of people and everyone has something to say. Next slide, please. So what will we do today? Today is going to be a pretty active, hands-on day full of learning. We're going to analyze the new beginning teacher competencies under 5 domains within the AU's framework, the African Union's framework. If you recall last time, if you joined us last 2 Thursdays ago, we talked a little bit about the African Union's framework for teacher competencies and standards. It's a framework for the teaching profession. And in those standards and competencies, there are beginner teacher all the way to distinguished teacher competencies and standards, what they should know, what they should be able to do. So today we're going to go through those, the beginner teacher competencies, and then make a connection to what teacher education needs to be in order to nurture these new teacher competencies. So you'll have a chance to think critically about what teacher education needs to be in order to nurture new teachers who have these basic but sound competencies. And then we'll take a moment to understand more about this course and especially the long-term assignment that you'll be doing by the end of December. Next slide, please.
Is it there?
I would like to, yes, Mina? I think we have opening remarks now. I think if you go to the next slide, it should say Miss Sophia's name and title.
Yeah, it's there. Just check.
Okay, it's not showing up for me. But now we're going to have some welcome remarks from the African Union. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Sophia Ashapala. She's the head of Education Division at the African Union Commission. Over to you, Sophia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marianne, and very good afternoon to all the participants. Marianne, really, we commend you for the wonderful work that you are leading together with the team. Really, we appreciate the commitment you are showing to this task, and also to all the participants that are keeping track, and they are here from the first session, and we are here again at the second session. It is really my great pleasure to welcome you all to this second session of the Community of Practice in Teacher Education Reform in Sub-Saharan Africa. From the African Union, our department in particular, the Division of Education, we places teacher education at the very core of our transformation agenda. And through the new continental education strategy for Africa, that is CESA 2026 to 2035, we affirm that there is no education system that can rise above the quality of its teachers. In our region, this means ensuring that every teacher is well prepared, well supported, and is equipped to respond to evolving needs of our learners in a rapidly changing world. This community of practice, which is led by UNESCO ICPA in partnership with ourselves, with KICS, with the RTIA, AFTRA, is more than just a meeting place. It is a platform for action because it allows us to share innovations, exchange lessons, and also co-create practical solutions to address teacher shortages, skill gaps, and the integration of technology and inclusive practices in our classrooms. So I commend each one of you, as I said already, for your commitment to this work. The idea and solution we are generating here have a direct link to improving learning outcomes and moving us closer to the aspiration of Agenda 2063, in Africa whose development is people-driven and powered by the potential of its citizens. Let us therefore use today's discussion to inspire and to challenge, to equip each other for the work that lies ahead. So I therefore look forward to rich exchange and concrete action that will emerge from this session. Thank you very much and welcome each one of you once again. Thank you, Maria. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for the welcoming remarks. We're very happy to have the African Union's involvement in this space. This is a collaborative space, and we have several partners that are involved. We also have Mervi here, Mervi Hakoniemi. She's from the EURTIA. I know I didn't ask you formally ahead of time, but because you're here, Mervi, would you like to just say hello to participants again? You've been so involved in this space.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here. I was already here last week giving some opening words, so I will not repeat them. I'm from the Regional Teachers Initiative for Africa, and it's one of our important key focus areas is to enhance knowledge sharing in Sub-Saharan Africa. So this is the reason why we are supporting this group. And as said, nice to see you all and hope to see you also in the following sessions.
Thank you so much, Mervi. So this space is a collaboration between ICPA, between the EURTIA, also with the African Union, and we have Dr. Steve Nwokeocha here, who will speak a little bit later today, and he represents AFTRA. AFTRA is one of our partners as well in this space. So now we've gone through the introductions. I want to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Nwokeocha. He's going to be our course facilitator in this space. He's going to take us through the learning today, and he will be a resource for us for the entire next few months until December, when we expect to have our last session. So he's going to be the facilitator, and you'll be seeing quite a lot of him, and you can ask him any questions that you have along the way. Over to you, Maina.
Thank you very much, Maria, and thank you for the opening remarks too and the collaboration. Thank you, colleagues, for your submissions of the task which you did. That was tremendous. That was great. We are able to receive over 55 responses, and we appreciate that kind of input. So that will form our discussion in this small section in the first part of today. And I'll quickly give a summary of what we submitted before we dive deep into the discussion. We appreciate your contribution. So from what you gave, we took two areas which I'm going to briefly talk about, and then we'll deep dive into the discussion. So over the past few weeks across the region, you shared a wealth of insights into realities in teacher education in your context. And despite strong policies, many of the country, we see a consistent set of challenges that cut across. There is issue of teacher qualification and competence gap. A significant portion of teachers remain unqualified or underqualified, often without formal pre-service training. Many lack subject-specific expertise in science, mathematics, ICT, and inclusive education. In some cases, even college trainers had low academic qualification than their trainee. There was also a poor working condition, which you raised. In several countries, teachers face low salaries, delayed payment, poor housing, and limited access to teaching resources. These factors led to low morale, high turnover, and difficulty in retaining talent in rural areas and remote. Then you also talked about limited CPD and weak pre-service training, where you talked of over-reliance on pre-service training, while no or little ongoing professional development. Where CPD existed, you say it's often inaccessible, poorly aligned with the current pedagogical needs, and it contributes to persistent theory to practice gap, as well as weak ICT integration. You also shared about infrastructure and resource shortages, where you talked of many schools lacking essential teaching material, from textbooks and teacher guides, overcrowded classroom, high pupil-teacher ratio, making it challenging to deliver quality education. Then you talked about curriculum implementation challenges, where you say the teacher often struggle with new curricula, particularly competence-based approaches. Some are reluctant to adopt new methods, and in certain contexts, there's mismatch between language of instruction and teacher-learner proficiency. Further, they complicate the implementation. Then you also talked about recruitment and retention, where you say recruitment process sometimes fail to prioritize skill and competencies. And this led to an uneven distribution of qualified teachers with shortages in key subject areas and oversupply. So these issues are deeply interconnected: weak preparation, poor working condition, reduced morale, which affect retention, which in turn increases shortages and limits curriculum implementation. So addressing them requires an integrated approach that links teacher preparation, ongoing development, and workplace support. So that is what you raised, and we'll give you time to discuss in a breakout room. But you also raised about the level of implementation of the policies. So what we see is that there's been a significant movement in developing robust education policies, but translating this into consistent, effective practice remains challenges. So you shared about progress highlight, where we see new acts and regulation gazetted in several countries, creating stronger legal foundations for education reform. And curriculum reforms are underway, many now competency-based, emphasizing on 21st century skills and inclusive education. We also talked about teacher training colleges are being upgraded, in service certification pathway emerging, and innovative mentorship programs like Lesotho school-based mentorship program. And during a discussion, you'll dive deeper in this, and you're talking about how to improve teacher confidence and reducing turnover. Another progress is enrollment rates have risen, gender gaps have narrowed, and the teacher quality regulatory body are playing a growing role in professional oversight. However, any rose has a thorn. So you also raised persistent gaps and challenges, where you talked about either partial or uneven implementation due to funding shortages, infrastructure gaps, and ongoing instability slow down reform rollout. You also talked about capacity constraint, especially in monitoring and evaluation, which mean that even well-written policies are not consistently applied. In some cases, standards are not uniformly enforced, and there is limited access of frameworks among teachers, school leaders, and trainers. You also talked about resistance to change, particularly in adapting inclusive and learner-centered approaches, alongside bureaucratic delay that impacts salaries, recruitment, and teacher morale. So this mix of progress and persistence raises an important question: how can we move from policy on paper to consistent high-quality practice in classroom? So in our discussion today, after you have discussed in your breakout groups, we'll connect these findings to the AU competencies and standards and explore actionable steps for bridging the gaps between policy and reality. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a short brief of what you shared, and congratulations. Many thanks for your contribution. Now we want to give you an opportunity to have groups whereby one group will be discussing on national teacher issues and challenges, and the other one will be talking about implementation. We are going to share the links in the groups, and then when you see breakout rooms, if you are odd number, you'll click the link which is for odd, and then that link is what you will use to access. You will use that article to discuss. I'm going to tell you what kind of discussion you're going to have. So I'm going to give you guidance, but if you check in the chat, you can see the link for the odd group and the link for the even group. So I want you to note that, so that once you go to your group, you'll have that link for discussion. Discussion time is limited, it's only 10 minutes. So once we get into our breakout room, let's stay focused. Let's agree of how we are going to document our points, because when we come back, we are going to have a quick individual reporting back. We're going to give you a link where you're going to report back, but we'll also pick a sample of you who's going to share their discussion. So this is the question we are going to discuss in our breakout room. What are you learning from each other about your country's teacher policies and political environment and institution? So read the question, reflect on the questions before we go to breakout rooms. I can see we are 81. So, and the rooms, we don't want to have many people in the room. We want to have few people who can have a good discussion. So I'm going to open, just read the So read the question, and the rooms are ready, and the rooms are open. So click on the room, and let's discuss in 10 minutes. The time now is 23 past, so in 33 past, we are going to close the rooms. Please join the rooms.
You can check the chat box for the instructions, everyone. We've posted the instructions in the chat box.
I went to room 1. People are already discussing. I'm going to go to another room to listen in. Richard Ulrich, you are supposed to have joined the room. And Matopelo Mohale. Luilo Sanga, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, you are supposed to have joined the room.
Okay. Let me go.
Yeah, just click on the room, you go to the room.
Okay.
Yeah. Mirjam Shiapo.
Yes, Prof.
You're supposed to have joined the room.
Joined.
Oh,
Okay.
you're supposed to have joined the room.
Okay.
Let me just take you to a room. You'll see something lighting up to go to a room. Join the room and join the discussion.
So am I in the right room? This is
You're in the main
Professor.
room, Prof. You're in the main room. People have gone to different room they're discussing.
Am I in the right room?
Yes, Prof.
Thank you.
Can you please take me to my room?
Rich, I'm taking you to a room. Just see the prompt on your machine and go to that room. People are discussing. Time is up. We are going to close all the rooms and everybody will return to the place, to the main room. Thank you very much for coming back to the main room. We are still waiting for others who are coming back. I had alerted you it will be a short, quick discussion because you are many, you are 6 and 10 minutes, like an hour of discussion. So now we are still waiting, 21 are back. We are waiting for others to come. All the rooms are closed. So only 21 are back. We are waiting for the others. Then we shall proceed with our presentation. So I hope you had a great discussion in your room to see what other people have shared. So what we like you to do now is individually, we like you to share. And I'm sharing a link in the chat. We'd like you to share in the parking lot. Look at that link which has come. Just click on it and then you share. Otherwise, I also want to pick some people to tell us what they have learned from doing this. You can raise up your hand. I'm looking for the hands. I can see all of us 8 are back here. So raise up your hand and then I will call out Oyugoga Onu. Please unmute and briefly tell us, what did you learn from doing this? Oyugoga.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Miner. Actually, in our odd room, room number 11, we reflected on teacher issues, problems, challenges. So I particularly from Nigeria contributed by informing us that Ghanaian system of teacher education implementation seems to be having an edge over my own context in Nigeria. That's what I learned. And then the gaps there is that although they have very well integrated education for sustainable development themes in their curriculum for in-service teachers or for pre-service teachers, there's still that capacity deficiency for implementation of those, translating those curricular documents into active learning. So supervision or quality assurance is still not very effective. Then a colleague from Togo, from, is it Togo now? No, from, yes, Togo. I think it was Togo, was explaining that teacher recruitment standards are still deficient. Quality of teacher preparation too is still deficient. And ICT integration.
Nwokeocha, let me interrupt you.
Okay.
So can you tell us what did you learn from that interaction you had with the others?
In one sentence, I noticed that our contexts are very similar in terms of the challenges. That's and then there's still some little amount of progress. Despite that, there are still some level of progress, indicating that we still have a chance of overcoming those challenges, especially in this community of practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. A round of applause. We go to Sempeho Siafu. Sempeho Siafu. The rest, please. This is everybody needs to contribute. There is a link in the chat. Click on the link and share. Continue typing out what you are taking away from here. Just click on the link in the chat. Let's go, Sempeho. Oh, you have dropped. Sorry.
No, I'm in.
Oh, please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. So we have first of all, this has been a very nice moment for us to interact, and partly I from Tanzania, East Africa, and colleagues from the southern part. So we have learned some models in Tanzania, in Eswatini, and in Namibia, and seeing that there are quite a good number of variations in terms of reforms that are happening at the moment within the education sector. But what is more profound that we have learned, all of us, is the attrition. You see, the teachers, they lose interest to continue working as teachers. They venture into various other fields because it's kind of teaching profession becomes something like it doesn't pay more. And so the expectation that they had is not really met. So we should experience in these countries to have more teachers who are trained, but more teachers who are also living the career because of the situation that is current. And this situation is actually influenced by the political landscape that is actually prevailing in all these countries. So this is one of four critical areas that we have discussed as a group.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. We have two gentlemen who have shared, Nwokeocha and Sempeho. I'm requesting if there are any ladies in the room, please, can you raise up your hand so that we get from two ladies? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for that. Martha Msowoyo. Martha, please share. Martha, unmute and share. The rest, please.
All right.
The rest, please don't forget to type using the link in the chat. Don't forget to type using the link on the chat. Yes, Martha, proceed.
Okay, yes, I'm Martha from Malawi. From our interaction, I've learned that we are in Africa and we have some kind of similar challenges. And from our discussions, as we were discussing, I have noted that there is a very wide room for us to learn, and maybe we could be agents of change to our education systems.
Thank you very much, Martha. I can see people are already editing, people are sharing. You can see from the screen, people are entering, which is good. I want one more lady before we move on. One more lady, please raise up your hand. I can see this is great. Continue populating the parking lot. I'm looking for one more lady to type. One more lady, raise up your hand, please. I can see Khadija. Khadija, are you there? Lydia or Khadija? Please, somebody raise up your hand. I think there's a keyboard which has stuck because somebody is just typing V. Letter V is stuck on your keyboard. Just stop typing. Khadija, are you there?
Hi, everyone.
Yes, please.
My name is Adiola from Nigeria.
Yes, please.
So, in our group, we discovered that I think the problem is peculiar to African countries. So we share the same challenges, and our policies are somewhat alike. However, the level of what we have been able to achieve with the policies that have been brought out differs. And what we discussed and suggested was that we should have a meeting, look at these policies. How can we advance these policies? How can we create a sort of mobilization and advocacy for these policies that have been brought out to stimulate more teacher engagement in the education sector? How do we work with pre-service teachers to ensure that they are interested in teaching and learning and the children are actually improving in their learning outcome? Thank you.
Thank you very much from Nigeria. That is very grateful. And please make sure you're not forgotten. Make sure your voice is presented. Some people are typing in the chat. Please use the link we have shared. Dutcon, you have typed in the chat. Zwedela, you have typed in the chat. Catherine Otunga, you have done in the chat. Please do it in the link shared. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to welcome Professor Steve Nwokeocha, who is going to share with us about the teaching standard. Dr. Steve is Executive Director of the Africa Federation of Teaching Regulatory Authorities, AFTAR, and co-chair of the African Union Teacher Development Cluster, AU Continental Education Strategy for Africa. Welcome, Dr. Steve.
Thank you.
Professor.
Yes, I hope my document will be projected now.
Yes, Prof.
Yes. Thank you, colleagues. Today I'm to speak for just 10 minutes and to focus on the beginner. We had 4 career stages for teachers and even for school leaders. But today we are dealing with teachers and we are dealing with the beginner. And our guiding document is the African Union Continental Framework of Standards and Competencies for the Teaching Profession. This is a mandatory or compulsory document for this community of practice, and I believe you have it in the resources room on Google Drive. Now we go to the next page. The next page, as I've said, has mentioned the 4 career stages, and today we are looking at the beginner. Are you a beginner? So this is for you. Even if you are not a beginner, you've a lot to learn, because for you to be above the beginner, you must have everything the beginner has before you move to the next career stage. It's assumed that the higher you go, you have acquired everything in a lower stage. So let's go to the next. The next page says standards and competencies required of beginners are the very minimum to practice as a teacher at any level. Because now teaching is regulated at all. So if you are a teacher, you are concerned with the standards and competencies for the beginner because it's the minimum. If you don't have it, you don't even belong. If you have above it, we thank God. The second point is that the competencies for the beginner, they are acquired almost entirely from pre-service teacher education. And that means when we talk about the beginner competencies, it puts the pre-service teacher education on the spot. It reflects, it has a full reflection on pre-service teacher education. The third point is because it is reflective of pre-service. If you pass or fail a professional qualifying examination, is a strong reflection of the quality of pre-service teacher education. And we would say more about this towards the end of this presentation. So we go to the next slide. Now we look at the first domain. There are 5 domains, and we are looking at those domains as they pertain to the beginner. In the first domain, you have 8 standards. These 8 standards, the details are in the AU document. We are just illustrating with just the first or 2 standards of each domain. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide shows us the first domain and the first standard of that first domain. Let's just read it in order to illustrate the point. First of all, that domain, you can see textbooks there, is a measure of your intellectual prowess. It's a measure of your multidisciplinary acumen. It's a measure of your exposure, local and international, intellectually, because teaching must be first and foremost an intellectual field. So in the first standard, you see demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the research and underlying principles of how individuals learn and develop, and how they develop in physical, cognitive, and linguistic, as well as socio-emotional domains and so forth. That is addressing the issue of knowledge and understanding of human development and the learner. So the first standard in the knowledge domain is for you to know how how humans get their understanding and how the learner develops. And so if you look at the words used in framing the competencies, what you find in these boxes are called competencies. Remember, we have domain, that's the big one in the big letter. You have standard, that's the one you call 1.1. Then in the box, you have competencies. Competencies are defined as roles expected of someone in a particular professional or social position. So the competency here, number 1, is demonstrate knowledge and understanding of both research and underlying principles of all those issues outlined. The key words used here is demonstrate. You find out that standard uses active action verbs in order to show that you must put it in a way that is demonstrable, in a way that it can be proven. You don't just say, know this, know that. How do you know that the person knows? Rather, the person will use words such as demonstrate, apply, utilize, practicalize. Action words are used to state these competencies. And these competencies elaborate, those first standard. Within the standard 1.1, you still have another sub-standard. So if you come to standards, there are sub-standards. So the first one is sub-standard 1. In other words, 1.1.1. But we are not using those extensive numbering. The second one is sub-standard 2. It says demonstrate knowledge and understanding about differences in the way individuals learn and develop, and is responsive to learning streams and needs of individuals. So this, again, is talking about knowledge in the diversity of learners' potentials. So all of this is about the competencies. So if you continue to standard 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, in the box, you will see elaboration of what is expected of the beginner. When you go to proficient and higher career stages, which we are not dealing with today, you find out that the word demonstrate includes advanced issues. But this first one is for beginner and is the minimum education. Let's go to the second slide. The second slide is the second domain. It has to do with professional skills and practices. Because we have these three core domains that we all know, the cognitive, the affective, the psychomotor. So you have the intellectual, you have the practical, and you have the behavioral or conduct or ethical aspect of it. So the second domain is the practical aspect of it. You know something or you have a knowledge and understanding, but you also need to practicalize it. So the second domain is about practicalizing. And we will just explain the competency here using 2.1 alone. I did say we are just illustrating it with just the first standard of each domain. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide here shows a teacher that is teaching maybe ECCD, kindergarten, or even primary education, junior secondary, senior secondary. Here, it deals with 2.1, effective teaching and learning. You now apply those your knowledge to specifics required for you to deliver, to practicalize knowledge. Now you see 2.1 has substandards again, but we didn't number it 2.1.1, 2.1.2. We didn't go into that numbering. But each box shows a subset of 2.1. The first subset says plan, design, and implement contextually relevant teaching and learning. So you see, planning is practical, designing is practical, implementation is practical. There are methods that you could be evaluated in designing, in planning, and implementing your learning activities. The second subset says apply learning in different contexts, including direct experiences of nature and other, learning contexts, even beyond the school boundary. So again, in this section, domain for practical skills and practices, you are supposed to, in your teaching, apply different contexts, your knowledge of different contexts. You go to the next one, it says, communicate importance of what students need to learn and link this to the relevant success criteria. So you have to have effective communication with students, because at the heart of teaching, particularly skills and practices, is communication. If you're unable to volatile issue, you must use appropriate language for the individualistic abilities of your diversity of learners. And the last one says demonstrates effective questioning techniques. You know that questioning is also at the heart of teaching and learning. And so you have to demonstrate that you understand the principles underlying questioning and the appropriate questions, and questions that are neutral, unbiased, and are able to inspire and motivate. This is just 2.1 standard for professional skills. So let's go to the third one, the third domain. The third domain is professional values, and this has to do with conduct, your ethics, your attitude, your behavior. Previously, we used to have teachers' code of conduct standing alone. You hardly have any document now or emphasis on teachers' code of conduct. They have been mainstreamed into the professional standards. And this is the section where you have all of those code of conduct that used to stand alone previously. So here, the first 3.1 says awareness and respect for learners' diversity, for instance, and we are going to make an illustration with that. So let's go to the next slide. Now, the next slide shows a teacher in a very happy mood, exciting mood, inspiring mood with students in the classroom. And there are a lot of things that are expected to make this holistic, to ensure that no child is left behind, and to build a classroom of excellence. So under 3.1, you see 3 students equitably and demonstrate awareness of their diversity. Equity and inclusion and multiculturalism, these are trending words in terms of managing diversity in class. 3.2 standard says respect for learners' rights And then you see the competency. I said that the things you have in the blocks are called competencies. That is specific roles, specific actions. Standards make a general statement or a general principle or a general rule. But when you now go into the box, you now get specific action required. That action is called competency. And that action is also called role, professional role. So respect for learners' rights and dignity. You will now see demonstrate respect for human rights and commitment to social justice, gender responsiveness, inclusion, and caring for and protecting learners. That is for standard 3.2. 3.3 says, comply with relevant legislative, administrative, organizational, and professional requirements, policies, and processes of the profession and institution, and maintain high ethical standards and support colleagues to interpret codes of conduct. So, like I said, what used to previously stand alone as code of conduct no longer exists. Because once you say professional standards, it is holistic. It has everything, both in terms of conduct, in terms of skill, in terms of knowledge required. So this is just illustration of that third professional, that third domain. Now we go to the fourth domain. The fourth professional domain is partnership. Both the fourth and the fifth have just one standard each, one standard. And I led the development of this standard for the African Union. I was the lead researcher. And there was so much discussion about partnership and leadership. And it was agreed they have to be made a separate domain in order to highlight their importance. Otherwise, they are supposed to be, partnership is supposed to be subsumed under number 3. Even domain number 5, leadership, is also supposed to be subsumed under 3. But the continental body that met at that time said this must be created as independent domains so that people can understand their importance. Now, this fourth domain is professional partnership. And this partnership is from the lowest level of dealing with individual learners through the classroom, to the school, to the principal, then to the parents. And the other one is not careers. That's a typo error. It is carers. Because some people that are in charge of children are not their parents. They are carers. Abroad, we have carers. But here, it's only guardian or parents that we know. Carers, not careers. And up to communities and up to the global society. A teacher deals with stakeholders that have direct or indirect business with teaching and learning. So let's go to the next slide where we illustrated the specific competencies for professional partnership. Now, professional partnership as demonstrated here. Look at that August gathering. It could be an international roundtable, international focus group with people of colors, black, white, different continents. Imagine what you will learn a lot alone from this kind of interaction. So partnership cannot be undermined or overemphasized. 4.1 says you partner with all this level of people. And in competency, in the first competency box, it says participate in professional and community networks to broaden your knowledge and improve your practice. People like us today that have become global scholars, we did it through partnership. We didn't need to go to university or sit in a class. Community of practice is one of these global, continental, and national empowering instruments. By the time you finish a process like this community of practice, I'm sure you begin to speak like me, like Mary Ann, like Ashipal, like Dr. Quentin. So every knowledge is not from the 4 walls of the class. And in fact, after your doctorate degree, what else? To be a professor, you don't have to go back to the class. It is through partnership. We can't overemphasize it. The second competency there says, work collaboratively with colleagues. We don't know the power that comes with colleagues working together. You see some research papers, you have 10 names. 10 names on a single research paper speaks volumes, unlike when it is a research paper by a single name. So working with colleagues empowers, mentors, and you are also mentored. The last competency there in that first one is understand strategies for working effectively, sensitively, and confidentially with parents and all this level of stakeholders. These are not the only competencies. That's why you have that arrow pointing down, means there are more competencies, even though you have one standard for partnership. Now let's go to the last one, which is professional leadership 5.1. 5.1 is leadership and management. Again, what I said about professional partnership pertains to leadership as well. The argument we had then in 2019 at the AU headquarters when we were developing this standard is that people underrate leadership, and which is why we have developed leadership standards separately in detail, and we are licensing leaders the way we are licensing teachers. But more importantly, teachers need to know their leaders at their own level. Leadership doesn't come only when you are given a title leader. As you are organizing groups and learners and students, you are a leader. Among your staff room and colleagues, there are leadership acumen expected of you. There are some foundations of leadership you must build before you now become a school leader and become licensed and then have that title leader. So leadership was considered to be a very important quality that teachers must have from the first day, even as they leave the pre-service teacher education, so that they can nurture and build upon it and then rise to become super leaders or distinguished leaders, licensed as school leaders. So let's look at the last plate, the last slide, which is the slide for school leadership. Can you imagine somebody that is addressing colleagues or classroom or international meeting? A lot of leadership acumen is required. So one of the competencies in the first box there says develops and commits to a vision for the school and promotes a distinctive school leadership. Are you a school teacher? You are committed to, you are obliged to be part of the vision of your school and play a leadership role at your level that leads up to a holistic school of excellence. The second box there, which is the second competency, says promotes high quality teaching and learning, engages in quality assurance, and promotes improvement. These are areas your leadership skills are required, because high quality teaching and learning has an element of leadership, and you have to engage in those charismatic, inspirational leadership. And even quality assurance and general improvement in system have elements and foundations about leadership. Somebody must lead. Leadership is achieving something by influence through your engagement with colleagues, with all stakeholders. And the third competency says lead with care and respect for colleagues and all of that. It underlines care and respect and leadership and empathetic leadership. So it is emphasizing all of this. Again, there are more competencies, even though it's one standard, and that's why it points down. So the last slide, let's go to the very last slide, which is conclusion. The last slide now says, which is a point made at the beginning before. The last slide says, the beginner is a true test of the quality of pre-service teacher education. That's what I said at the beginning, that the beginner competencies push pre-service teacher education on the hot spot. And secondly, implication is that pre-service education curriculum must benchmark the teaching standards. Abroad, where they accredit pre-service teacher education, the primary document they use in that accreditation is teaching standards. If you go to Canada, the teaching council there accredits faculties of education using the teaching standards. If you go to Scotland, where you have the first teaching council in the world, they accredit teacher education, pre-service, using teaching standards. If you go to Australia, Europe, and America. So the importance of teaching standards is that it's at the center. Pre-service teacher education curriculum must benchmark these teaching standards so that there will be no mismatch. Technically, therefore, that's the third bullet, accreditation of pre-service teacher education is an exercise to determine whether or not pre-service teacher education program is able to train teachers that meet the teaching standards. And the last bullet point says also Professional qualifying exams for teacher registration and licensing, they are based on teaching standards. Part of what we have in these continental frameworks is that teachers must be registered and licensed. And not just that, you must pass through evaluation we call competency evaluation. That evaluation is also based on the beginner. Then when you are registered and you become a teacher, you can now begin to pursue higher career stages, which I know is not our discussion today. When we get to those stages, we'll elaborate them. At this point, I say thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that insightful presentation. I'm sure, colleague, as Prof was presenting, we were reflecting in our areas of our account. And Prof, before you move, there's one question which maybe you need to answer, then we are going to move on. There's a question from Dishon Murutu, who is saying, does it mean teachers and education leaders and management have to be licensed differently? Most education leaders and managers are trained teachers. Why? I need help. Please, Prof, just quickly answer that, then we can proceed.
Sorry, is that a question? Sorry.
Yeah, it's a question which has come from Dishon Murutu.
Okay, if I have any questions, sure, I would like to take them right away because I would be leaving immediately. So what is the question again, please?
Does it mean teachers and education leaders and management have to be licensed differently? Most education leaders and management are trained teachers. Why? I need help.
We have 4 tracks or 4 categories of teaching professionals. The first is the classroom teacher. The second is the school leader. The third is the teacher educator. And the fourth is the teacher in administration, or the teacher administrative teacher. The teachers in the ministries and agencies like us, we are not in the classroom, but we are making all the policies and implementing them. We are teachers too, or we must be teachers. So these 4 categories of teachers must pass this beginner test. It is then 3 points for all 4 categories. If you don't pass them, you cannot even aspire. In some countries, you won't even be a teacher educator unless you have passed the test, you're a registered teacher, you have master's degree before you can even apply. You cannot be a school leader unless you have passed the beginner test, taught for 10 years. I know in St. Kitts and Nevis and other areas I've helped to develop their system. That was the nation's own agreement. 10 years as a teacher before you can aspire to be a school leader. If you have to be like me, executive director, after regulating the world, I must have been a classroom teacher, registered beginner, and had 10, 15, 20 years before you can see me. This is my 37 years of postgraduate, over 27 years of PhD, and practicing as director in the federal ministry, as a professor and all of that, before you can have me as executive director and the world chair. So what we are saying, first thing first, the beginner is for everybody. If you don't pass the beginner, you can't even join our class. But we recognize there are 4 categories, and these 4 categories have their slightly different standards. I did mention in my first presentation where I said beyond teachers and school leaders, two more categories are missing. But some other regions of the world have started catching up. You have standards for teachers, standards for school leaders, standards for teacher educators, and standards for administrative teachers. These standards are not too opposed or diametrically different, but it addresses their peculiarities, and all of them have the same foundation that you must have passed that of a beginner test before you can even aspire to those ones. So this standard is for everyone in the profession, and those who administer teachers must themselves be teachers. You cannot see medical doctors administered by people who are not medical doctors. You cannot see lawyers administered by those who are not lawyers. It's only in teaching that you see people who are not teachers administering teachers. These standards are making this a final advice for those people to meet the standards, or government should stop imposing them on the profession. So this discussion today is foundation, and it's serious, and it applies to these 4 categories. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I know you don't have time, but one more question before you leave. Somebody is saying, Prof. Steve, I'm wondering, what do you consider as effective teaching as long as effectiveness is dynamic and varies from one place to another?
Yes, we define quality as fit for purpose. If you read some documents, over 10 years of research by Commonwealth of Learning, different authorities, one key word stands out: fitness. Fitness for purpose. When I tell you that teacher education is accredited across the world, they are not using the same context. They are not using the same standards. But each country, each jurisdiction uses its own standard to check whether teacher education meets their own standards. So effective teaching is fitness for purpose. Are you fit for learning outcomes? Learning outcomes is part of the key benchmarks for checking whether learning is sufficient or not. And that's why you hear about learning crisis, learning poverties, and PISA. Remember PISA, the international exam where they check students across the world and tell you America is better than Finland and all of that. It is surrounded by a common concept: fitness for purpose, fitness for learning outcomes. At primary 6, learners are supposed to at least write a sentence. Are they able to write that a sentence? So different countries have different benchmarks, different goal attainments for different levels of education. In their own context, meeting those goals is what is called effective teaching. And for us, competency-based teaching, which is what we are dealing with now, means is a teacher able to have the competency in these standards and put them into practice in class? And is it able to match learning outcomes, expected learning outcomes? So that's why we talk about schools of excellence, classrooms of excellence, and matching learning outcomes. In Nigeria, I was the chair of the Ministerial Committee on Monitoring of Learning Assessment. I may also share my different international papers I've written about monitoring or learning assessment, because at a point I was the chair of the Ministerial Committee on Nigeria's measurement of learning assessments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your contribution, and we really, really appreciate what you have given us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to dive deep so that we unpack what we have had. And we are doing this vis-a-vis our countries. So we are going to have 5 groups, or groups in sets of 5. So we are going to have 18 groups, so that each group we have 5. But notice that if you're number 1 or number 6 or number 11, you'll be addressing the first. Yes, thank you very much, Prof. Goodbye, and thank you very much for the presentation. We are really appreciative. So we are going to have 15 groups, and please note the numbers that number 1, 6, and 11, you'll be addressing the first domain. Number 2, 7, and 12, and when I say numbers, I mean the breakout rooms. We are going to go out into 15 breakout rooms, and each room will be having 6 to 7, 8 people. So if you're number 1, 6, and 11, you'll get a link. My colleague here will share with you a link, and you'll go to the Padlet, which I'll show you shortly, and then you'll answer questions. You'll answer questions in that particular Padlet. If you're in group 2, 7, and 12, you'll address the second domain. If you are in group 3, 8, and 13, as you can see on the screen, you'll address the third domain. If you are group 4, 9, 14, you'll address the fourth domain. And if you're in group 5, 10, and 15, you'll address the fifth domain. When you go to the Padlet, there are questions. So you'll just answer the questions in your group. You'll open and you can discuss. And then we'll give you around 20 minutes so that you deep dive and have a dialogue within your groups and ensure that you have put that. Some people are remaining in the room here. Please let us know if you're having a difficulty so that we can take you back to your room. So now we are going to have those rooms, just checking out. And Just a moment. So I'm going to open the rooms. The time now is 1/4 past. So by 25 to, the rooms will be closed. Please, when you get into your room, open your mics, say hello to each other, and then start populating the document. Take the roles, because all of you will be working on one page. So agree as you share, people start writing. So I'm opening the rooms, and the links will be shared on each room. Hoping to see you. Enjoy the discussion. Make sure you move to the room. Don't stay here in the plenary. Just move to the room. I'll be rotating in different rooms, checking who is there. Rikaju, your hand is up. Rikaju Yakobo, your hand is up. Rikaju? One, 6. I hope you had a good discussion. Now, this will be a moment where we are going now to be able to see what all the other people have been saying. So what I'll do, we want to give each group at least 2 minutes to quickly share. So somebody from domain 1, pick up your hand, please. When I choose you as you present, the others will be typing in the chat so that we get what you have gone through. So somebody from domain 1, you have Peter, Martin, please raise up your hand so that, and we can only, all of us, we can read. I can share this link so that we can all read what other people have said because that is what we can now see what everybody else has said. And I'm sharing the link so that, because the idea here is a community, we are supposed to see what other people have said. So I want to share the link, and what I want you to now, when you click on that link, which is in the chat, you can now be able to see what everybody else has shared. Initially, you could only see what you have discussed, but now you can see what everybody else have shared. I want to give you 3 minutes, quickly scroll through, see what other people have shared. And as you are scrolling through, I want to request, raise up your hand, and then we start sharing our experiences. What did you learn from this activity? I'm looking for hands. Raise up your hand. I have shared a link whereby we are all accessing the whole document. So I've given you some time. You can quickly scroll through and see what people have been saying. Don't worry, Kafayat, don't worry about which room you are. Just, I want what you learned, because everything is documented on what you shared. So Kafayat, I can see your comment on the chat, but I'm keen to know, what did you learn? What did you learn? So I'm looking for hands. Raise up your hand so that we can listen, we can hear from you. Anybody who wants to react to that activity? Yes, Mocha Godfrey? I can see 2 hands. Great. Or you Goga again. It's you.
Now,
let's go.
Now I've raised a hand, but maybe what I wanted to say is, because we took time to take part in the preliminary responses, and so it has been a bit difficult to follow which response to react upon. And me and my colleagues in the other group, have had a challenge to navigate to this point.
And the good news is the link is still live, and you can still go there and continue reading at your own time. Give it time, give it depth, and continue react. You can still comment. So do not worry about that, Oyugoga. So you still have a chance, because this is a very serious activity and we need to give you time. Within this time, when it's contact time, but post-contact time, you'll still be able to read through. So do not worry about that. Do you have any quick reaction before I go to Peter Jack? Is there anything you can quickly react from what you saw, apart from navigation issues?
On which standards? I wanted to react on the standards within the professional skills and practices. Yeah. On domain 2.
Yes.
Yes, maybe as a country here, we ourselves in Zambia, the professional skills and practices are molded around a norm. a norm which is actually like a teacher conduct, and then the aspect of the licensure provides some element upon which this practicing teacher is expected to execute his or her services.
Okay. So thank you very much for that brief comment. We really appreciate. Let's give it for another person also to share. Peter Jack. Peter Jack. What's your reaction, Peter Jack?
Thank you. In our group, we were in group 1. So I actually learned that the standards generally apply to almost all the countries that were represented in my group. Though some of them would relate to some certain level, and some would relate to a certain level. For example, if a new teacher would have certain competencies that they may not be very strong at, but as they go, they also have a better understanding of those competencies or of those standards as well. So I realized that the standards apply everywhere, and if we continue to collaborate and learn from each other, we can have a better way of improving them in our own context, learning from other contexts as well. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. And please, as others are sharing, those who have picked hand, if you have picked, it does not mean the others are left behind. Do not forget our parking lot. Just click on the parking lot and continue sharing your reaction. I have Derek Dennis. Derek Dennis, please, can you share something? Derek Dennis?
Yes, thank you. We were talking about professional skills and practices. Yes, so for us in Liberia, the government through the Ministry of Education drafted what we call 5 professional standards for teachers in Liberia. So this particular domain falls under that standard established by the government. But what I learned from my colleagues from Zanzibar is that teachers in Zanzibar are licensed before teaching in a classroom. But unfortunately for us in Liberia, the Center for Excellence in Teacher Licensing is yet to be established by law. So as a result, there are a lot of teachers that are into the classroom, but they are not qualified. So as a result, there is no measurement as to whether they are meeting these standards or competencies.
Okay. Thank you very much from Liberians Zanzibar collaboration. Sempefo, please. Sempefo Siafu. Can you say something as we move on? The rest, if your name is not called, just go to the chat, click on the link, and continue populating the parking lot. Sempefo, over to you.
Yeah. So for me, I just have one small thing. When I say, despite the domains and the standards are really good and they represent the competencies that the teacher should possess, but I'm wondering to what extent in the development, whether the context of different African countries were considered, but not just the context of the countries, but also the issue of considering education at all levels.
Yes.
Because we need to look at the education, the teachers prepared for each level, for pre-primary, for primary, for secondary, but there are also teachers who are working under adult education, under non-formal education, who don't respond so much to pedagogy, but respond so much to andragogy. So I see still the need to go and kind of doing some amendment to these standards as we translate them into country-specific context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sempeho. But remember, this is an entry point, and everybody has to go through the entry point. Then we can graduate and move to this is a beginner level at the entry point. So as much as you're doing andragogy, you're doing heutagogy, you're doing pedagogy, the entry point, these are the basics, the foundation. where you begin with and then you grow into it. Thank you very much for that observation. Catherine Otunga, are you there? I want two ladies, Catherine Otunga and then Elizabeth Shihepo. Catherine Otunga and then Elizabeth Shihepo. Then we move on. Catherine? Catherine, are you there? Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes, please give us some quick remarks. Catherine, please. Just speak up, please.
I think she has a message in the chat, so you need to look there.
Oh, I have a problem with the mic. Okay, no problem. Mercy Mongeli, are you able to speak? Catherine, while you have a problem with the mic, can you type in the chat then so that we can all see? But we are also using the parking lot. Do not worry about that. Mercy Mongeli? Mercy, any reaction from this activity? I can see you are chatting. Maybe you're having a problem with your mic. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have done some due diligence. Remember that this link is there. You can continue. The Padlet is live. You can continue reading what your colleagues have done, and you can also continue commenting because it will also be our convergence to this activity so that we can really deepen our learning experience on the standards. Remember, these are the beginner standards. They are beginner standards. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all those who have joined the Google Classroom. Thank you very much for all those who have joined the Google Classroom. And if you have not joined, I am sharing the link in the chat, which you can quickly link and join. I want to quickly navigate in the Google Classroom so that we can be familiar with that particular environment. As we are coming to the end of this session, I am really grateful for your engagement and your input. But remember, we also have some takeaway tasks which we are going to give you. And also, I'm just wanting to connect to the Google Classroom. I quickly navigate there so that we have a look. So you can see that is our Google Classroom if you are able to see it. And in this Google Classroom, you can see there is the stream. This is the stream where all information comes here. And many thanks to all those who have been putting in. I can see people have been reacting. Then there is class work. So if you go to class work, you will see different types of activity like checking for understanding is what you'll be doing as your takeaway. Task 2 is what you'll be doing after this session. Then there is a library resources. If you go to the library resources, you will see all the things that we need you to share, the WhatsApp, the parking lot, the session 1 presentation, and this presentation. That will be like our library. Any reference material that we want, we'll be putting here. And then if you want to see your colleague, you just tap people and you can see all your colleagues. You can chat among yourself. You can also chat across. And the tasks that will be given, the task that we'll be sharing, the task that we'll be doing, this is where you will be seeing them. And when you submit, then we'll be able to see that this can only be seen by the faculty. We'll be able to access and give you feedback. So it's very important that we use this among the other because this is convergent and we are going to be able to follow what is happening to the session. So ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed for this session, just a moment. Let's see. We are coming to the end of the session and there are some things that we need to assimilate ourselves into so that we understand. So as you can see that we are doing module 1 and it's about pre-service teacher education. This is our second session. We are going to do 10 virtual workshops. We did 1 last time. This is the second one. That means we are remaining with 18 others. And we are going to be having takeaway tasks in between, which we'll be undertaking. If you check in the Google Classrooms, you'll be seeing the tasks coming up. And then there's going to be a longer term tasks, which I'm going to show with you shortly. And Marianne is going to speak about it more. And then module 2 will be about in-service teacher education. That will start in February up to March. So that is this course structure. So we are now in module 1. We have sort of covered 20% of module 1 because it's 10 sessions. We have covered 2 sessions, but we usually have a takeaway because this takeaway will allow you to continue engaging with the learning. So in the takeaway, please mute speaking. We have, if we can mute, I'll appreciate. We have 4 things we are going to be doing between now and 28th when we meet again face to face. 1, we'll provide you with an article which you are supposed to read. And as you are reading that article, there will be a study guide to the article. And the study guide will have short questions which you'll answer, and you'll have like 5, 6 essay questions, but you only select one. You only select one essay question. 2, for you to assimilate, deepen, explore, and be comfortable with Google Classroom, we have organized a scavenger hunt. A scavenger hunt is a set of steps which you'll be following, and it will be asking a question like, when was the last assignment posted? You look for it, and when you manage to answer all those questions, you'll be acclimatizing yourself with the Google Classroom. That will be a very nice platform for us to have, and you can put it in your mobile phone. It's easy to access, and you get on time. Immediately something is posted, you can see. 3, for us to check your understanding, you'll also get a quiz. And this is a self-marking quiz where you have to get all the marks. Means that we will answer the quiz. If you don't get the answer, you'll get feedback, and then it will allow you to retake until at the end, you are going to get everything correct. And then the last one, I want to invite Marianne to speak about it. I just want to share the screen. So Marianne, please, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mina. Yes, so, and by the way, the homework, everyone, has been posted in the chat box for you to see. Please mind that there are 4 different areas. It might seem like a lot, but it's there to really support you and to bring you more into the learning. So the homework is in the chat box, and we'll send it to you again on Google Classroom and make sure that you see it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the first homework task that's mentioned in the chat box. It's identify which course assessment you wish to do. So Mina is sharing his screen. Could you make it a little bit bigger, please? Just zoom in a little bit. Yes, for everyone. So in this course, because this is an online course, it's an actual class, there is ongoing work and assignments to do, and you're going to be building towards a long-term assignment. We think that it's going to be a practical one for you, an applied one that you can see yourself maybe taking some pride in and actually wanting to do, being motivated to do it and to see the results from it. And we're hoping that it has a real life connection for you. So it's applied, it's authentic, and it's applied. Not something to just do like and then just send to us and never hear back. That's more like an academic assignment. This is an applied one, so you'll be able to use whatever you do. So there are 4 options. We want you to take a look at this document on your own time and then decide which one you want to do before the next session. And then we'll give you some time in the next session to talk with others who are doing the same assignment. So I'll go over very briefly what those 4 options are for you. So the first one, you have a chance to be published if you write a case study paper that analyzes the situation of pre-service teacher education in your country. And make sure to mention any proven or promising programs in your country. But the innovation is not, so the the innovation is not going to be the primary focus of your paper. It's to write about what is pre-service education like in your country. And then you can mention in that any proven good programs or any new innovations that are coming up as well. But we want you to analyze the situation of pre-service education in your country. We will provide you with a template for how to do that. And you have to write at least 3,000 words in order to get the certificate for this course. But you can write up to 6,000 words. You can also partner with somebody else from the same country to do a joint paper. The papers will be peer reviewed by UNESCO ICPA, and if it's selected for its quality, we will publish it in an edited volume after this course is over. So we'll publish your paper if it's of quality. Okay, the next one. This is application. So for this assignment, you can give written feedback on UNESCO ICPA's developing framework that is being written right now to guide teacher pre-service education across Africa. So UNESCO ICPA is developing a framework, like you saw the AU's framework, a framework to guide what programs of teacher pre-service education should look like. So you have a chance in this course to review that checklist of those guidance and then give your feedback on it in writing. And then also apply those guidelines in your country, maybe in your department that you work in, and then write a 3,000-word note on what you found out from applying those guidelines. So we'll share with you more information, including the template with you next time. So this is an application assignment where you get to take part in a real-life developing of a framework to guide teacher pre-service education, and then apply it in your department and talk about what you found out from doing so in a paper. The next one is research. So option 3 is 2-part research. There's 2 parts to this. Number 1, or part A, you can collaborate with us to share a survey that ICPA already has. So we already do surveys in countries on what are the innovations in teacher education in different countries. What are the innovations that are out there? We would like to invite you to share that survey with your colleagues in your own country and get a good response rate from TTIs. I'll give an example. Nigeria recently did this. We had a survey that we didn't get a lot of responses to, so we asked one of our contacts from Nigeria, could you share the survey and see what happens? And she did, and we got like 300 responses. So we have surveys already on studying innovations in teacher education. We would invite you, if you want to take part in some research, to share that survey with people in your country and then obtain a good response rate. And also part B, on your own, to identify teacher educators or recent teacher graduates in your country and do interviews with them. These would be qualitative interviews where you can ask them some questions to find out more about what are their challenges and what are their needs in your country. You have to do at least 4 to 5 teacher educators or recent graduate teachers. And we want you to get both genders, so both male and female teachers or teacher educators, those working in both urban and rural settings, and both private and public schools or teacher training institutes. So this is a really interesting one where you get to engage in some research, and you will create those questions. You'll be guided by us on which questions to create, so you'll have some help. And this can be a joint assignment with 2 people. If 2 of you want to work together from the same organization, you can do so in this class. You have to be from the same country and preferably the same organization as well, but we can make some flexibility there. You can be from different organizations too, same country. And then the last one. So the last assignment option, application and reflection. This is more of a personal task about your own learning. You heard Dr. Maina say several times today, what are you learning from this? What are you learning from this? What are you learning from this? So a more personal assignment would be option 4. You can apply what you're learning in this class towards an area of need that you yourself identify in teacher education in your own department or your own organization. If you work at a school, that can look differently than if you work at a Ministry of Education or a TTI. So you have to identify an area of need in your organization and apply what you have learned to that area of need. And then you can track what you've done You can track whatever it is that you have done and shared with your colleagues, what you have learned about, whom you interact with, who you work with, and then share all of that in an action plan and a self-assessment document, which we will provide to you. So those are the 4 assignment options. We want you to have a look at these. You can go back up, Mina. This is the end of the document now. You can take a look at these on your own time before next session on August 28th and decide which one you want to do. If you want to ask some questions about these, feel free to do so in Google Classroom if you want to ask questions before the 28th of August. And then on the 28th, we'll put you in groups with other people who are doing the same assignment so you guys can think about, brainstorm together how you are going to approach your assignment. And this is a long-term assignment. It will not be due on the 28th. It's due in December. So you have plenty of time to work on it. And I want to make that clear because some of you were trying to attempt this already and send me emails about doing your assignment. This is not due on the 28th of August. It's not due anytime soon. It's due in December. But we're just going to talk about it and understand what you have to do next time. Mina, over to you.
Marianne, remember this assignment is cumulative. So you have to begin now and you continue over time. So we thank everybody for your time, for your engagement. Let's give that thought because we want a product which will also help us grow professionally as well as improve the quality of education where we serve. So we thank everybody for your time. And as I finish, remember that for you to get a certificate, a digital certificate, you have to attend 8 out of 10 sessions, full time. Remember, we are using technology. It will track. You come in, you come out, it tracks. You come in, you let your son sit there, watch, it will track. So we are tracking your engagement, and that will be the benchmark or threshold for you to get a certificate. Secondly, digital certificate of completion will be given for those who attend 8 out of 10 and you have completed all applied tasks. So all applied tasks you have completed. So it's you to get to decide. We appreciate your commitment. We appreciate your busy schedule, but we also want you to also be committed more so that you can draw a lot from this particular session. So ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to see you on Thursday, August 28th. And don't forget our WhatsApp group. It's also the Google Classroom. If you go to our library, you'll get the link there. Let's continue connecting and let's continue learning together. We need each other to grow professionally. Thank you very much. Mariam, any words before we say goodbye?
Simply that the homework is a little bit, there are 4 parts to it, so please don't forget all 4 parts. We put it into the chat box and I'll put it into the WhatsApp link right now. Thank you very much. I have nothing more to say, Mina. Over to you.
Thank you very much, everybody, and we apologize for taking 1 minute of your time. Thank you very much and goodbye. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you on the 28th. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.